welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a get ready with me. I'm clearly in my pajamas. We're going to be getting ready while I talk about the uncomfortable truths of being a Black woman engineer. Now, to be clear, I no longer work in the field, so that's why I'm making this video. I'm making this so that Black women or Black girls who want to be engineers know the truth and aren't blindsided like I was. And I'm also making this so that people who aren't Black women engineers can learn what it's like from our perspective and try to understand it in that way. So let's get straight into it. I already did my skincare before I started on camera today. I used this vitamin C treatment by Fig. Just got this yesterday. And I also used the Clinique Moisture Surge, which has SPF 25. I am basically out of this. It's like a little travel size thing, so it's super cute. Anyway, so let's get into these eyebrows while I start talking. So today I'm gonna use the NYX Professional Precision Brow Pencil. It's double-ended, so it has the little eyebrow brush and then it has the pencil. Okay, so I think the obvious thing about being a Black woman engineer is that there are very few of us in the room, and in most cases you'll probably be the only person in the room, the only Black woman or the only person of color or the only Black person. And as a Black person, I recognize that immediately every time I go into a room. It's just something that you can't unsee. Like once you notice, you just start to notice it everywhere you go. Being the only in a room all of the time can be incredibly draining when it is your job every single day to go into that office, that lab, that building, whatever. That's the obvious harsh truth about it. Of course, there are programs that are trying to increase diversity within the field, but that is something that takes years to establish. And although I've been seeing more Black women just in my everyday life and on my online feed, if you aren't necessarily looking for that on social media, you can feel very isolated and feel like there isn't a community for you within STEM and within engineering. So that was super hard for me to get over. And then also ties in with my next one is that in a lot of cases, you may also be the only in your family to either be in science or to be an engineer or something of that nature. If this doesn't apply to you, congrats. Like, I'm so happy for you. But as someone who was the only scientist in my family, it was a lot of pressure to have to always perform and be that overachiever all of the time. It can really be stressful if you just have pressure coming from your job end where you're the only Black woman in the room, and then coming from your family where you're the only scientist or the only college educated person in your family. I think when I was in the field, I constantly felt the pressure to prove myself and to prove that I deserved to be in those rooms. And that is so incredibly draining. Oh my gosh. I gotta tell you, it feels so great not to have to deal with that anymore, but it's just like any mistake that I made, I felt like I was under a microscope all of the time. And honestly, I have not met another Black woman that has not felt that way if they were also an engineer. So everything you do is kind of under this microscope all the time, and you kind of have to be like on your best behavior or behaving at top notch all of the time. Any of your coworkers, any of your counterparts aren't expected to have that kind of level of perfection, and that is what can be super triggering and also really frustrating, because why am I being held to a different standard than my other coworkers and people that are given the opportunities, the raises, the scholarships, you know, whatever. So I think that's definitely a drawback to being a Black woman in this field, and also in any like high performance field. So with law and with medicine, it's a lot of the same thing because there's so little diversity that is actually in the field itself. So I'm very happy to not have that feeling anymore, but I will say it took me years of therapy to get over the fact that I didn't have to prove myself to everyone, especially to the people that I genuinely did not care about and did not want to be involved with. It's not an easy feat being in the field, and I will honestly say that I felt like I was surviving, but I was not thriving. Like I said, there was so much pressure to always be my my top performance, saying the right things, talking to the right people, explaining myself or why I did things a certain way. And that also ties into my next point, which is you're constantly code switching to be taken seriously, and that was so detrimental for me. I'm on YouTube here, I'm very casual, but when I was in that type of environment, I would always have to be especially articulate and to know what I'm gonna say before a meeting. I would spend hours preparing for meetings just so I could practice the phrasing for what I was gonna say, so I wouldn't be picked apart for how I phrased certain concepts. It was super exhausting. And then even when I wanted to have those calm and like social moments where I could relax, I wasn't totally relaxed because there's always the pressure to code switch. There were a few times where I slipped up and I said something that I would typically say to my friends. Sometime I was in a meeting and they were asking about feedback about the food for this event. How did you guys feel about the food? And I said, well, the food was A1, it was bomb, girl, I loved it. And it like totally came out without me even thinking about it. But that's how I would talk to my friends. Be like, oh yeah, you need to go to this spot, like it's the best, like don't even waste your time going to somewhere else. And the looks I got from saying it was A1 was actually kind of hysterical, but it's also ingrained permanently in my mind. And now when I am in professional settings, I am very articulate and very particular about how I express myself. Yeah, I just never feel like I have a break. I can't actually be myself and be who I am. And luckily I'm able to do that now online, where I'm very authentic and I am who I am every single day, and how I show up here on YouTube and on Instagram and on TikTok or whatever. But I didn't always feel comfortable not code switching. Switching can be super detrimental to your mental health. So I am very happy that I don't have to do that anymore. Now on to some of the positives about being a Black woman engineer, because there are some. Like, I don't want this video to discourage people from wanting to pursue engineering, because it is a good field to work in, and you can also learn a lot and grow a lot as a person in the field. One of the positives I think about being a Black woman in this field is that when other Black women see you, or when other Black people see you, you are immediately their top role model. You might as well call yourself Beyonce, because they look up to you with everything you do. Like, it doesn't matter if you mess up on a slide or if you misspeak or something. Like, people love just to see you being Black and being an engineer. And moments where I was really discouraged in my field and in my work, I would just think about the people that were inspired from me just existing and being in the lab every day. So that's really positive and something that you can just think about whenever you are having bad days, and don't think that what you say matters, because everything that you do as a Black woman in the field matters 10 times over. I mean, it can't express enough how important it is for there to be representation in the field, and for you to exist as a Black woman in that field is so incredibly powerful. So the other thing that I have learned and have used now that I'm no longer an engineer, and just using my everyday life, is knowing how to advocate for myself and knowing how to promote myself, because merit is needed. One of the things I think older generations kind of instilled within us is that if you work hard, your work will be noticed eventually. I think that is so corny and so wrong. It is just so wrong, because it does not matter what you do, but if you do not talk about the things that you have done or the accomplishments that you have achieved, nobody is going to know, because everybody is just thinking about themselves all the time. But one thing that I learned when I was an engineer was how to advocate for myself, stand up for myself, set boundaries, and also how to promote the things that I was doing and be like, yeah, I'm doing the damn thing over here. Y'all better look and watch out, because I'm coming through. It took a long time for me to get to a point where I felt comfortable promoting myself, but even for different awards and like scholarships, you have to nominate yourself for those awards. You have to brag about yourself and talk about all the things that you have done. It's really great practice now, because when I meet people and talk about my life experiences and what I've done, I'm not like, oh yeah, like it was okay. I'm like, yeah girl, it was so great, and let me tell you the next part. And then what happened was, it has really given me an opportunity to be able to talk about myself and be unhinged about it, and also be unfiltered, and not have to feel like I need to be humble. I show up very confidently, but also it's because I deserved it. I am confident because I worked very hard to get here, and I'm not keeping that a secret from anyone. So I think that is a huge bonus to being a Black woman in engineering, because engineering is just a tough field where you really have to work hard, but also you really have to show that your work is valuable. So I am using It's My Ray Ray palette today. This palette is so overdone. I need to get a new one. I used this highlighter and also this highlighter, and then I also did a little bit of contour as well. It's gonna be, I think, the look today. I have to do a ton of writing, so I'm not gonna do too much more, but I do have a couple more points that I wanna share with you guys. The other really great thing about being a Black woman in engineering is that you do eventually find a community of either like-minded people or people with similar backgrounds as you, or just other Black people in the field. The community is so incredibly supportive and will literally support you through thick and thin. Like, it's actually crazy how support. They're almost like your personal fans. Really cool to be able to have that sense of community when you finally do find it. Like I said, it is pretty hard to find the community because industry can be very isolating. I've personally found it for me online through social media. There are so many scientists that are out that are talking about their experiences and posting on social media. That was how I found my community and how I was able to get through those really hard days. I am going to use the 5 Cents Life of the Party perfume that I got sent to me. This smells so incredible. It has hints of jasmine, and it's called Current Midnight Jasmine. It smells really good. Anyway, so the last thing I want to talk about is being a Black woman engineer. It means you are most likely going to get constant support from your family, and that is so incredibly important to have people, one, that are outside of the field, and even though they don't have any idea what you're talking about and you know why you're struggling or why you're stressed, like, they are still supportive for you and can be an emotional support system. And two, because your family is going to be there for you when you do, you know, win that award or graduate. Good to have them around and to have a base that can also ground you and be supportive for you in that way. So those are my uncomfortable truths about being a Black woman engineer. If you guys like this video, let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.